Welcome to 90s Noise. I'm April, born 1991.
And I'm Ashley, born in 1988. What's that theme? What's the theme song for the Nickelodeon?
Oh my gosh. Oh god. Holy
What is
shit.
that? I should have
2
looked it up.
seconds. That's what I need.
I just think we could do like a little star, like
Yeah,
Nickelodeon.
yeah,
That's all I remember.
that's
Nick. Isn't it Nick?
Nick,
Is it that?
Nick.
Is that how it's always been, or is that
I
the
can't remember
newest?
if that's this how it's always been.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how it was in the 90s or that not.
The one I can think of is the Nick, Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon. Yeah, that's the one I know.
Which I don't know if that was 2000s or if that was the 90s.
Right. Yeah. Oh well.
Because like when I was watching these, it didn't have that intro. Like it didn't even they just cut it out. So
Yeah.
game shows of the 1990s.
Nickelodeon game shows.
Yes, Nickelodeon to be exact. There's a handful of them. Nickelodeon.
There is actually a lot of Nick game shows. I almost feel like what's the word? Like they were the originators of these like kids game shows almost. You know what I mean? In this style of how they were doing it.
Yeah, and I think they were so much more like geared kids, I feel, than some of the others, even Disney, honestly. I feel like Nickelodeon was a lot more teen based. Because like Disney, you kind of felt more like little kid, child based, I guess, would be what I call it. And then Nickelodeon kind of was that teenage market.
Yeah.
So what game show do you remember most?
If we're going off of like the one that I remember the most from Nickelodeon, I think the first one that comes to mind is Legends of the Hidden Temple. I think that one is just like instantaneously like boom, I can remember everything about the game, the rules, like just everything.
What was your favorite team from that one? Did you ever have a favorite team?
I feel like I probably did, like always go for a certain one. I don't know what that would have been. I don't even know what all the teams were. I know there's like the Barracudas,
I think there's the Monkeys.
Shoot, I should have looked that up. Monkeys, Barracudas.
I got it. I got you, girl.
Snake?
It was the Red Jaguars.
Ooh.
The Blue Barracudas, the Green Monkeys, Orange Iguanas, Purple Parrots, and Silver Snakes.
Okay, so there was a snakes.
Because not every single one had, because there was only 4 per episode. Did you ever want to be on that?
I don't know that I ever wanted to be on that show in particular. It was fun to watch, but I don't think that I ever thought, oh, I want to go and try out for that and do those challenges. I don't know. I just don't think that I ever did. Did you?
So to be honest, I loved watching it, but it kind of scared me sometimes.
Oh, okay,
like,
yeah. The temple guard scared the crap out of me.
Yes.
I was like, no, he's gonna get you. Don't go that way.
Exactly. Like that's not even one that I rewatched or anything, but I still remember sitting at home watching it and cheering on a team and everything and being like, oh my gosh, there he is. Oh my God.
I always felt bad though for the kids because it almost seemed like a lot of times when they got to that final challenge, they were almost set up to fail. Like they were, you know what I mean? Like it just seemed like there were very few teams that ever actually made it successfully through.
Yeah.
And I just was like, okay, nah, these kids aren't going to do it. No, not these ones. You know, some would surprise you, but for the most part, you just kind of already assumed, nah, they're not going to make it. Like they're going so slow. Like, go faster. Like, what are you doing? Like,
because wasn't it they only were able to have like 1 or 2 do the final challenge? It wasn't even the whole team or something like that. That part I can't remember.
There's only 2 per team.
I thought there was 4. Why did I think there was four?
There's four in the final round, but there's only two because it's two per team.
Okay.
Yeah, only two do it, and like only one person will do it in the beginning. But if they get taken by the guards, then their other teammate will go in and finish it. So
Yeah, but don't they have to like start from a certain? They don't even start from where they were taken. They like
yeah, you have to start from the beginning.
Yeah, and
they have
the
to
time
follow the
doesn't
same
reset.
path. No, that's what I always hated. I'm like, yo, this is not fair. They're not gonna make it. How do you remember the path that they took? Like,
Exactly.
and the thing is that these kids, they like didn't even know each other. So you don't
Yeah.
have that sort of communication with each other. You just kind of like randomly paired up with someone. And that's why I always think I got frustrated with the teams because I was like, what are you two doing? Why are you guys not? But I understand now they didn't know each other. So they had no clue how to like work with each other as a team.
Yeah. Gosh, I couldn't imagine that as a kid, as a young preteen teenager, because they were like ages were what, probably 10 to 15 or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably reasonable. Yeah,
Yeah.
they weren't super old, but they weren't like the young kids that, I think you had to be a little bit more able to like comprehend things and be able to kind of do like the most more physical things on that show at least. But
Yeah.
did you see the reboot that they came out with last year?
Okay, so that was a movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did have a movie too, but they also had like a reboot of this actual show.
Actually, no, I didn't see the reboot. I started to try watching the movie a couple months ago
Okay.
or something, and it just because I think I thought that was the
No.
reboot, and I started. I'm like, what the hell? This isn't. Oh, this is a movie. Never mind.
Whoops.
Whoopsies. But
I think I was reading about it, but the host of the show actually makes an appearance in there, in the movie.
okay, which
Yeah,
I'm not
I did
surprised.
read that.
I was looking at doing some research on some of the ones that we were talking about, and most of them, the host in one of them produced another or did something with the other ones.
Appearance on another
Yeah.
one, or
And
yeah, there
so-
were some that did that. Yeah,
I think that was easy because most of these took place here in Florida. They were at Orlando Studios.
right.
And so it was easy for them to just like, oh, you're
Bounce
sick.
from
Okay,
one.
let's pull this host over to cover your gig for the day or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure that made it easier when you already kind of know somebody, so that you can just kind of help out with another show. Or I know some of them actually hosted like multiple game shows. They had multiples that they were doing at a time, and that's a lot.
Yeah. Did you
That's a lot.
now with you living here in Florida and in the Orlando area? I have to ask because I always was keeping an eye out for wild and crazy kids to come to the Midwest. Because they always were like, we search the country and have kids go head to head against each other. And I always just wondered if they actually truly did search the country for it, or if it was.
I always wonder about that on anything that they say that for, if
Yeah.
they actually are searching or not, because I thought Wild and Crazy Kids was shot in California,
I don't know about that one. It's
from what I read.
I can't-
they said that one was.
I was just rewatching one of them. It was like, and like its little tagline in the beginning is, "We travel the country searching for wild and crazy kids," or something like that.
But
And-
they never found you.
No, they didn't. So disappointed. So disappointing.
Did you like that show?
I actually did because I never really did go to very many camps.
Oh, okay.
And it was very camp-like to me, and I always was interested in that. I don't know if you remember Bug Juice, the show.
What's that?
Oh, that was like it was a Disney show. I think from the late 80s, early 90s, where it was
Okay.
like a reality show at summer camp.
Huh.
And it was just,
Interesting.
I was so intrigued with that show, but they would do like games like this, or hell, the fucking It Takes Two, like the games that they played there, or
Oh,
some of the
yeah.
other movies or shows that took place at camps always had like these big camp wide games and everything. So Wild and Crazy Kids always gave me a piece of that, and I enjoyed watching that one.
Yeah, it's a kind of a good way to. I'm kind of getting that vibe now, thinking about the show that it's a little campy.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever really liked that show though, to be honest.
Really?
It did seem, yeah, I don't, because I was rewatching a little bit just to kind of see if because that one wasn't one that I like. The name is familiar, so I was like, okay, what's this one about? Do I remember it?
Yeah.
But I don't really remember it. I don't remember that show, and I don't know if it's because we didn't like it, so we didn't watch it, or if it's just something we never ended up catching when it was on or something. But that one didn't seem very familiar, and I don't know. That one was just a little weird for me. I wouldn't say that I really enjoyed watching that one too
Yeah.
much. It wasn't, and I don't know if it was the host or the way it was shot, but there was just something that when you go from that one to like Legends or any of the other ones, it's just, I don't know, it was different, and it just felt a little bit more. That one felt a little bit more cheaply made. I don't know if that's a word, but like it just kind
Yeah.
of a little, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I was watching, like, somebody had kind of was doing a recap video or something on YouTube regarding Wild and Crazy Kids, and talking about how at that time Nickelodeon was being very thrifty with their budget.
Ooh.
And so that's part of the reason why they did that. Because it was something that could easily, cheaply be done. It didn't involve a lot of extra studio time. Like, you just find a freaking football field or something and throw kids out there and give them games that can be done by buying things at the dollar store or something like that, you know? You saying very cheaply made, that's they did go cheap on that one.
Yeah, a little bit. And well, and the other thing with that one is that they didn't have prizes either for the kids. There was no end reward in a
Yeah.
sense. It was really just more about, I guess, as a kid, which is still fun. Can I do this? Oh, can I, show
Yeah.
off to my friends and go to school and be like, hey, guess what I did? And it's more about like, that boasting sort of, more so than like having a prize to show for it.
Yeah. Which is understandable, like that, like we were talking about. I think it was definitely a lot more campy than the others. The others kind of, you could almost put adults in them in the other ones, and it still kind of work. Whereas the Wild and Crazy Kids was just, you don't really see that translating
Right.
very well. I mean, because Legends of Hidden Temple was very like gladiator type
Yeah.
style.
Kind of like what's it, Indiana Jones
Yeah.
kind of feeling.
And so there's that, and then what else? Double Dare. Did you watch that one much?
Oh, heck yeah. That was definitely one of the more popular ones in our household that we watched for sure. Because, I mean, they had like Double Dare, they had Family Double Dare, they had
Yeah.
some other spin off of Double Dare. Like, they had all these versions of it. And the host, I love the host, which I think his name is
Mark Summers.
Mark Summers, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think he does and did such a great job of just, and I think that's talking about Wild and Crazy Kids, that to me is kind of what brings a show together sometimes, is having that host that's just constantly like encouraging the kids and
Yeah.
giving them all this sort of energy and just kind of running along with them and whatever it is. I just feel like that kind of makes the show a little bit more better.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Does a great job at commentating.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really what most of the show is. You're just commentating on what they're doing. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
And so, I mean, that one I think was one of the longest running game shows that Nickelodeon
It
had.
was. Yeah, that's what I read. It was the. I had a note about it. Now I don't even know where the fuck it went. Anyways,
I think it was,
it definitely was the longest. And I think it was like
yes.
the first one too, because it started in '86, I believe. So,
Yeah, like 86, 87, and it went for at least 6 seasons on its first run.
yeah. And then it had like,
They brought it back, like Double Dare 2000,
oh yeah.
and then like you said, Family Double Dare. They had other spin-offs of it, and that one I think just I guess for me I forgot that it was only two people on each team, but even with it only being just two people, at least for the original.
The original, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too when I was rewatching. I'm like, oh, there's only two people. But then I watched the Family Double Dare, and I feel like we watched more of that than more so than like the two-person teams.
Because that had four, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was always one where watching it, I was like, oh, this would suck because they probably, if we ever got to do this, it'd probably just be my brothers and my parents. I wouldn't be able to be on it because I'm the youngest. And just
Aw.
that kind of mindset. But I don't know, it was fun to rewatch that.
Yeah.
The different things like the physical challenge. Oh, I don't know this answer. Dare. We don't know it either. Double dare.
Right.
Physical challenge. I still don't know the answer. No, 2 seconds later.
I almost feel like though they gave them questions that they knew weren't really going to be answered, and just, so everyone would do the challenges, obviously. Like that's the whole point of the show. It'd be boring if they all just went back and forth and answered the question. So I feel like they definitely gave them these, because I was when I was rewatching one of them, I don't remember the question now, but he asked it and they were like, no, I don't know. And then he's like, okay, so we're going to do the physical challenge. And I'm over here like, but what's the answer? Like, I want to know the answer. And they never said. And I was so upset. I'm like, yo, what's the answer?
The episode I was rewatching, it was the same kind of thing. And the question was, who's the comedy star in the highest grossing comedy movie of 1987? And
What?
I'm like, these kids are 11 or 12 at this time.
Yeah.
How the hell are they going to know that? It's not like they have IMDb where it shows.
Right?
Like, there was no...
Can I call a friend?
Yeah. It's like, Lifeline, please.
Did they give them multiple choice?
No. You just had to pull it out of your ass. Yeah.
Oh, it could be anybody. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it was Beverly Hills Cop 2. So it was Eddie Murphy was the answer. So he did give the answer. But it was dare, double dare, physical challenge. I'm like, you gave him like 2 seconds after the dare to throw it back to them. They're not going to know the answer.
No. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like Family Feud in a sense, where you go through people and it's like, okay, I still don't know. Like,
Exactly.
no.
Wait, that's not Family Feud. They don't there's not like a specific question in Family Feud. Because that's the one that Steve Harvey does, isn't it?
Well, I mean, they ask a question, but you have to think of multiple answers for it. So it's still kind of like, but they go from team to team in that final round.
It's not like a specific, like, there's only one answer. There's like 7 possible answers kind of thing. Yeah. Because you said that, I'm like, wait a second. It's not like one of those where it's who was the highest paid actor of whatever year kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I watched those. I watched the funny answers ones.
Oh yeah, those
where it's like Steve Harvey's like reactions, just like,
yeah, he's perfect for that.
Yeah. It would be hard being on that show.
It would be hard because thinking on the spot and like knowing things, I am terrible at that. I need to think about stuff. So
that's a whole nother story.
No. Okay, but one of the things that I feel like Double Dare really started with with Nickelodeon was the slime, that gooey
Yes.
gack green. I mean, they use a lot of different colors, but mostly green is the what's known. And that stuff was nasty looking. Just,
Yeah.
ugh.
I didn't. Yeah.
Did you ever want to be slimed though?
No. I always was like, I was always worried if we had, because we had come down to Florida in like 95 or 96, and we did Universal Studios, and we did like their Nickelodeon experience or whatever it was, where we were doing a game show. And I think it was kind of like all of the game shows combined, like Wild and Crazy Kid activities, plus Double Dare activities, plus Guts activities, those like just all kinds combined. And I was always worried about getting slimed. I do remember that. Like I was 4 or 5. Like, I don't want to be slimed. I don't want to be slimed. I think I was
Aw.
wearing something that I really liked.
Not this outfit.
Yeah, not this outfit. No. What about you? Did you ever want to be slimed?
I feel like I did. I feel like I would have, if they had asked for volunteers, I would have raised my hand and went out there and done it. Yeah, because I know that we went, because I have pictures from it, but they're not really good pictures where they tell me anything. Like, I just know that I was at the Nick studio, but I have no clue what's going on. In 93 we went. I know because I was reading about it because I was curious as far as how the whole tours worked back in the day and kind of what it all entailed, just to see if it would if I would remember anything. Of course I didn't, so that was whatever. But it's still interesting about sort of the history behind it and how it started in, they opened it in 1990. And then it went all the way through, what was it, like 2005, I think?
I think so, because I think that's when some of those shows ended. Like, I think that's when Slime Time Live ended, was about 2005.
Yeah.
That was a good show. That was always
I
interesting.
don't think I ever watched that.
So it was kind of one of those where it was in between commercials. It wasn't even like a true, they had like a 30-minute segment where it was, and it was a kind of a little bit of a game show. This was more, I think, late 90s, early 2000s, where the different like stands, there was almost like bleachers, like two or three sets of bleachers, and they were competing against each other on stuff. A couple of kids that would get slimed, but they also had a lot of celebrity guests, mostly musical guests. That would be there. So they would, I think part of it was like it was almost trying to be kind of like a TRL in a sense, like have that kind of feel, but they added like slime into it to give it something different. I liked watching it simply because it was so many musical guests would be there, but it sucked because it usually was on at like, the actual show itself was on at like 1:30 or 2 o'clock Central Time, because I think it was like 3 o'clock Eastern Time, and so 2 o'clock Central Time. So I had a hard time watching it because of school. Yeah, that was a big, I mean, the main thing was slime time live.
Everyone was getting slimed.
I don't think there was a single episode of that where the entire crowd did not get slimed at some point.
Ooh. Do you know what slime's made out of?
No. Do I want to know?
Sure, it's just made out of vanilla pudding.
Why would they ruin vanilla pudding?
Well,
so
don't
what?
even get me started on that, because after rewatching all of these game shows, there is a lot of waste in these shows.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like gut-wrenching because just how wasteful they are. And there you go with the slime. That again is, it's not like, I mean, even though we don't want to waste water either, but still. And they said that they used, because I found this out on Double Dare, they use up to 1,000 gallons of it for one day's taping.
1,000
A thousand
gallons.
gallons. Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. That's a lot.
That is, good lord.
And I don't. Double Dare did a ton of seasons, so
I just am like,
crazy. I don't even know how you produce that much pudding though. Like, damn.
I don't know. But so just for kind of a retrospect, 1,000 gallons would equal about 28 loads of laundry. 28 loads of laundry.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's probably about, I mean, us personally, we usually do laundry twice a week.
Right. Yeah.
So that's 14 weeks worth in one taping.
Well, they do tape like 3 to 4 episodes of taping. Like that's
Okay.
like in a day. I mean, in a day.
Okay, so one day,
But still, it's one day's
14
worth of.
weeks worth of laundry.
No, where they? What do they do with it all? Where are they just like? Where is it going?
I don't know.
Sweep it down the drain that they got in the studio? Like I don't. I don't know who's cleaning up that. But
I was about to say, could you imagine being a cleanup crew for that? Or like when they close down, you know how a lot of times they go in and repurpose and they have people like go completely redo? Could you imagine being on that crew and like going and finding just like old slime everywhere? Because there was just so much of it.
old crusty caked on down in the cracks and shit. Like, ugh, bleh.
So gross. Like that just makes me not like slime even more.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, that's true. Cause, not pleasant at all.
Too much.
Too much gack.
Yeah. So, did you ever watch Guts?
Guts. Oh, I love that show. Yeah, that's a good show. Who doesn't love that show? How can you not?
So the only, like, my biggest issue with that show, rewatching it now, was they needed background music.
Yeah, there are some long, like, replays. There's long pauses. There's all
just,
these
like, long, like,
awkward moments.
Yeah, like, the one I was watching was where they were, like, jumping off of this, like, little tower made of whatever, and then they were jumping up and had to shoot arrows, like, with darts on them.
Yeah.
And the host in that one actually went on and did a decent amount of acting. I don't know if you ever watched Glee. He was one of the adults in Glee, the show.
Okay.
He was Kurt's dad in Glee. And because like I was watching, I was like, why does he look familiar? And I looked it up and I was like, okay, that's why. He was talking, trying to give commentary, and he was doing fine. But they were waiting until somebody had gotten a certain amount, or it was like a full 60 seconds worth, or whatever it was. It was just, you felt like you were there without any extra post-production, which was...
Right. That show was very just in the moment. They didn't edit anything afterwards. It was just like, boom, like, here you go. You get a couple of slow-mo shots. But I wonder if that was an earlier episode and maybe it got better, as the season progressed, they were able to kind of figure out those missing parts to it or something. That show did have some issues in the editing department, and I'd honestly be curious as to kind of how it would be today. I don't feel like they've done an updated version of it, and I think that would be a really impressive show with the set and editing with it. I think that you could make a really cool show even today with that.
Yeah, like that one and Legends are both very American Gladiator type stuff.
Yeah.
They both have those more physically demanding challenges.
Yeah.
Which honestly I think made it more fun to watch.
Yeah. I like that. I like that they were inclusive of girls and boys.
Yes,
you always had both genders on it, so it wasn't like, oh, it's just something the guys can do. It was like, no, you can be a badass girl and you could be up there doing it, because there were a few girls that actually kicked ass.
Oh yeah,
in those competitions, and it's like, ha,
don't knock the girls. Don't count the girls
Exactly,
out.
yeah. Yeah, that show probably would have been really fun to be on as a kid if you were into sort of those sportsy type,
Yeah.
action, physical challenges. And I think probably the aggro that they had to climb up at the end, that final challenge of the
Yes.
mountain. That thing is just so, I don't know. It's just, I can't think of the word right now, but you know, you, it's so memorable because it
Mhm.
just represents the show. You
Yeah.
see that and you go, oh, that's from Guts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one was one that definitely did enjoy watching because it was so like physically challenging. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't more, I don't know, like I guess maybe for Double Dares, since it was kind of more of a regular game show where it was like the questions and stuff like
Yeah.
that kind of
Mm-hmm.
sometimes got me like I was kind of bored with it, I guess. I think that's why I like the ones that they were more active in
Mm-hmm.
as a kid
Yep.
because it intrigued me and I'm like, oh, maybe I could do that. Oh, that looks like fun. Oh, but don't try this at home, kids. Darn it. Damn.
Yeah.
In a sense, I think Guts was probably sort of the original Jackass.
Oh my gosh, honestly, yeah. They
If
did
you-
some pretty cool stuff on that show.
yeah. If you think of it, like that was kind of where you first really heard the "Don't try this at home, kids."
Oh gosh, yeah. These have all been tried and tested with our professional stunts to make sure they're safe for the kids, and
Yeah.
they always have, even though like some of the stuff, the challenges are like not that complex, and then you see like the stunt person like right there just like ready and like okay, they're just like they're not doing anything and they're just like
Oh yeah.
ready for them to fail and they're
I wonder how many people had gotten injured on those. Because when you put kids in something like
right.
that, you know something's gonna happen.
I'm sure some stuff did happen, yeah, but I feel like they probably tested it enough and made sure that it was as dummy proof as possible, and they had all those, they had so much I mean, I know there were some challenges that they were doing that it wasn't even that demanding. I'm like, why are you guys like in full head to toe protection gear? I'm like, you're just walking 2 steps forward and they're just like, and it's just so funny because it's like, okay, but I think they took all of the precautions because I'm sure the parents would have been trying to sue their ass if anything happened to their
Very
kid.
true. Like that's the thing too, gotta think about is all of these kids were kids. So the
Local and
liabilities
local kids too.
and yes, and so the liabilities that Nickelodeon had to take on. Good God, I would not like to know.
Oof.
Actually, I kind of would like to know like their insurance policies and everything that they and liability
Right?
policies that they had to take out for every
Oh my
show.
gosh.
I think that's probably part of why they don't really do those much anymore, especially with kids, because you really don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
You see things more like Double Dare, where it's again very, you see more of like the game show asking questions type thing, not like the
Right. Yeah,
physical, like
no
physically
physical.
demanding.
Yeah, I think like American Ninja Warrior is like the only thing,
Yeah.
but that's for adults. As far as kids go,
They do have a juniors on that, or at
okay.
least they do like one juniors a year or something like that. The only other thing I could think of would be Wipeout.
Yeah, but even still, that gets more geared towards adults,
Yeah.
like in that older crowd. Like they really don't have something along the lines of what we had in the 90s with Temple and the Guts and even Wild and Crazy Kids, just those really like more physical shows.
Because kids don't go out and play. Like,
I
I mean,
know, right?
that's the thing. Like, those who grew up in early 90s and before, we were out playing, scraping our knees. Oh my gosh, nowadays, kids freak out if the internet goes down for more than 5 minutes. Like, we grew up without internet, or like we specifically couldn't get on. We had times where we were only allowed to be on for so long because it was dial up and it was long distance dialing, so you couldn't get on until after 5 or whatever time.
Yeah, and you're hogging up the phone line.
Yeah. And so I mean, we came home with scrapes and cuts and bruises, and that was just natural as a kid growing up. And nowadays, I feel like there would be too many. Well, I don't identify that way, so I'm not gonna do that or something like this, like,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's a game show. Like, it's get down and gritty, like nitty gritty, like break a nail, freaking get a black eye, twist an ankle.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's
Heck
part
yeah.
of being a kid.
They're not kids anymore.
That's the problem. Like, I think these last few generations have been robbed of their childhood. And we'll get into it when we have our episodes kind of going over what we would do as kids. I think just this actually is a very good indicator. We had all these crazy athletic game shows that starred kids that were kid-based. Where are those now?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they'll ever bring them back. I mean, the 90s are having, a huge comeback right now, and maybe some of these older styles of game shows will maybe try. I know they tried, like I said, they tried to bring Temple back. Unfortunately, didn't succeed, but I think that the problem with that is that they brought it back for adults. They didn't bring it back for the kids. So it was adult players.
So it was like the same kids who played it originally just now.
Basically. Now that would have been a fun show if they had brought back those same kids to play it again now. That would be pretty darn cool. I would like that concept. That's worth doing. Finding where all those kids are.
Because I remember when they first had announced that they were bringing it back, and my social media was blowing up with, is this going to be for kids or is it adults? If it's adults, sign me up. And I'm like, I'll do. I'll go.
Yeah.
I volunteer. I volunteer as tribute.
Heck yeah. I'll be your teammate.
Hell yeah. We'd kick ass. Until we got to that final round and the guys would come and like carry us away. We'd be like,
oh my god.
We're stuck.
Yeah. I know I tried watching, but I can't remember if if they had that same thing at the end with the I wonder how that would work, but I don't know. I can't remember. Might have to rewatch it and see.
I don't know, but I know that specific.
It's almost like Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah. Like that specific thing would not fly with kids today.
Or more so, it wouldn't fly with the parents. You know? You didn't get consent.
It's like, it's a fucking game show, dude. You signed on the dotted line to participate. Read the whole thing.
I know. That's crazy. But either way, did you know that AJ from Backstreet Boys was on an episode of Guts?
Hey, what? AJ McLean?
Yeah. I know. I'm like, wait. That's very interesting. And then I found his voice.
Okay, hold on. We've got to pull it. Okay.
Is there a video?
I believe so.
Ooh.
Really quick, did you see?
Yeah.
Holy shit, first off.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I want to watch that episode. Actually, I think, well, I don't know if you want me to spoil it because I know what he got, but...
I take it he was, what, like, second or something?
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 3, so...
He didn't win a piece of the crag.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's what's funny is since so many, like, Backstreet Boys, most of them were in the Orlando, Tampa area where they grew up. NSYNC had a lot of them that were in the same area too. And so I think that's number one, like why Joey's still living down here. Howie still lives in Orlando. I know that for sure. Because that's where most of their family still is. But that's crazy
Yeah.
that he was on an episode of Gods.
That is hilarious. That crazy things the kids do.
Absolutely. So it's really interesting of like how he got picked.
Yeah, I wonder how that audition process went.
Yeah.
Well, I think well, I don't know. I'm thinking that they must have went around to some of the local schools maybe and did sort of like, you know how they sometimes do
Hmm.
like an audition or call for going to like those local schools
Yeah.
around, because if you listen to the schools when during that show, you know, they say who it is and they say what school they're from. It is very like
Yeah.
very similar one. So maybe that's what they did.
So it was Osceola High School is where he had gone.
That's what they said.
That's what they said at least.
Osceola.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, that's way out
Yeah.
there. That was a county I grew up in.
That's what I was thinking.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But that's insane. Like, I wonder who else. Because you know how sometimes, like, they just, situations like that. I mean, obviously, we know that, like, the Mickey Mouse Club, a lot of those people are still in the entertainment industry and everything. But I wonder if there was any other game shows, like any of these other kid game shows that anybody else got
Came
on
out of.
when they were kids and now are yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's probably some famous or whatever people out of these, because I almost feel like if you were a part of Nickelodeon or Disney, you ended up having like an easier time moving, you know, continuing
Hmm.
on with them in some respects. So probably being a kid, even on just one of these little game shows, if you were trying to, you know, network your way into the industry, that you could have had an easier in.
Yeah, for sure. Were there any other game shows? Am I missing any of the game shows?
Yes, you are.
Which one?
So figure it out. You don't remember Figure It Out?
Oh my gosh. Holy shit. No. Yes, I remember Figure It Out. I just, oh my gosh.
Figure Out, I feel like, had a lot of celebrity. Well, I think all of the panelists, they were all celebrities. You know, they came from,
That's the one that I was thinking of. I couldn't
yeah.
remember. Okay, yeah. Because they used a lot of, especially the all that cast.
Yep. Yeah, they did.
And what was the exact premise of that show again?
So that one was definitely the least physical show. like they, that one basically, the kid either did or invented something, and the panelists have to ask them yes or no questions to try to figure out what it is that they invented or whatever. They won some prize, and they'll get like clues. They'll have like clues brought out to them to try to figure it out, and then there's like prizes won.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember like I said, I remember the premise because I can see some of the cast members from
Yeah,
the Keenan and Kel, all that
Keenan.
cast.
Yeah, Amanda
Like
Bynes.
that era.
Yeah, I think Aaron Carter was on an
Yeah.
episode. They had Coolio on.
Yeah, that was the one that I think that was actually one that I wanted to like be in the studio
Ooh, that would have been
audience because they
fun.
had so many people on.
Yeah.
Because not all of them, like Wild and Crazy Kids, didn't really necessarily have a studio
No.
audience. The rest of them, I think, did
Yeah, the other ones
for the
definitely
most
did.
part.
Yeah.
Even if not being on the show itself, like just like I said, studio audience would have been cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I definitely would have loved to have been in a studio audience of any of the shows. I don't think that
Absolutely.
when I did the tour that we did, I don't think we were actually ever on like a show. You know, we never did like a show or anything like that. I did read that they said that they had started off the tours when they first opened in a different way than how they kind of sort of ended up through the late 90s, because I think originally they were letting the kids like go on the set or something, or just go near it or something, like shows that were actually filming there. So they were kind of like ruining
So
ruining secrets and stuff of the show, you know?
Yeah, so I know when we had been there, I couldn't find anywhere what it was necessarily called. I don't think ours wasn't a tour. We actually participated, but it wasn't one of those where they were actually recording to
Right.
put on TV. It was experience, I guess,
Yeah.
is more as opposed to like a tour. And it was a lot of people, and they'd like split us adults, kids, and so we were separated, and it was competing adults versus kids. And so that was something that I thought was super cool. And I wish they still did stuff like that. Because even now, I'm one of those people that even now I'd be going in. I'd be like, I guess I'm on the adult side this time, but I don't have any kids with me. Is that going to be a problem?
Heck yeah. I still want to go.
Oh yeah. It's just like when Disney was re-releasing some of their animated movies in theaters. Like when they did for The Lion King, I was like, get out of my way, kids. I'm an original for this.
You don't have a clue.
It's like, you don't have a clue what this means to me. But so out of curiosity, if you could have picked any of the game shows that we discussed to be in on, however you want to say it, which would be your top pick? Okay, so let me rephrase this. To be on and then to watch live, like be in the studio
Okay.
audience. Which
Okay.
what would, so
Yeah.
one for
I
each.
think I definitely would want to be on Guts. I think that one felt the most rewarding to do, to be able to do different challenges, and just because I don't do well thinking on the spot, so I'm more of just a kind of a go, and I'd rather do an activity and just kind of think that way. So that one for sure. As far as being in the audience to watch, I think Double Dare probably would have been one that I would have loved to watch, because I wouldn't have wanted to like do all those physical activities that they were doing, but watching it I feel like is a lot more enjoyable. And again, I loved the host of that show, just so I just think kind of being on that set would just, I don't know, it would just make you just feel super good, and want to be there. So, what about you?
I probably definitely do Guts to be on. Same kind of reason. The physical aspect of it, just I think would have been more enjoyable for me, as opposed to the trivia questions or something like that. But then to sit in on the studio audience, I probably would have liked to have been a studio audience member for Legends,
Ooh.
because I feel like Guts had more physical activity, but Legends kind of had more effects or something. Because it kind of did with
Yeah.
like the talking temple and everything. Yeah, I think that felt more of a production sense where it would have been fun to watch. Whereas Guts, I think being more active in that would have been more enjoyable than just sitting and watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, Legends did have that whole story, and then the questions off of the story. So it was like a production. You're right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Who would you say though is your favorite host from all these shows?
That's a good question. The host of Figured Out, I gotta see his face.
Oh, it's a girl.
Was it
They did a
from
reboot.
Summer Sanders? Okay, so I'm thinking of something different
They did
then.
do a reboot of Figure It Out, and there's a male host, but the original from
Yeah,
'97 was Summer Sanders.
seven was Summer Sanders. Yeah. Now that I see the name and everything, I can picture her and everything. So, host wise, probably between Mark Summers and the guy who hosted Guts. I can't remember his name for the life of me right now.
I think it's Mike O'Malley.
That sounds very
Yeah,
familiar.
Mike
Yeah,
O'Malley. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Mark Summers, just because he's classic Nickelodeon host
yeah.
and everything, and then Mike, just because He kind of was watching Guts. He was very, oh, you almost got it. Come on. Oh, right there. Almost kind of very similar to Mark in that sense, where he was very
Yeah.
encouraging and everything to the kids. And so I think that just would have been
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's probably a tie between
Okay.
those two.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I liked Mark the best. I like when I was
Hmm.
rewatching some Double Dare. He seemed to like to do impressions. Like he was always trying to do a little extra on the show. And the one episode we watched
Yeah.
was he was doing the Elvis impressions. And
Oh God.
I was like, okay, like he did it a couple times back to back and it's like okay, but then it just sort of kind of kept carrying on and I was like, okay, you gotta stop, Mark, you gotta stop. Like
Like, we get it. We get it.
but he had commitment and he went
Yeah.
with it, He's like, you know what, I'm doing it and I'm committing.
Kind of almost like a dad when they're doing impressions.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's cute at
Oh,
first and then it just starts getting cringe and you start feeling bad for him. You're like, okay, you're just embarrassing yourself.
you do know this is national television,
Exactly.
right?
Oh man. But yeah, it seemed like they had fun on set, so hey.
Yeah. One of those things where it's at the time they didn't realize that it'd get on the internet and the internet lives
Oh my god, yeah. Yikes.
forever.
Did you ever watch his other show that Mark did? What would you do?
I think so. That was a little later, wasn't it?
That one came out. It kind of was like going on the same time as Double Dare. I
At the
think
same
that's when
time.
he was doing like
Okay.
the back to back in the early 90s. But that show had like a weird concept though. I was watching an episode and the whole episode was they got 4 to 5 kids from the audience and they had them hide a ball and they could like kind of go they can be anywhere in the studio or they could go outside the studio so now we're I mean it's kind of fun but they were walking with them so they were walking through the soundstage they were walking outside into Universal and onto the lot and they're
Uh-huh.
trying to find a spot to hide this ball and they finally found a spot and I guess they had this like I don't know exactly what he called himself, but like a psychic in a sense, to where he was going to go and find like use his senses to find where they put the ball.
I think I remember that episode.
Really?
Yeah. Like as you're explaining it, it's kind of coming back to
I
me.
just thought it was so strange that that was the whole episode and we're just the camera and then at one part Mark's like, come on, hurry up, we gotta go, give me another microphone. Like it's just live, you're in it, you're going with them. I'm like, this is intense. Like what's gonna happen?
See, I love that because, like I said, I really do remember that episode. Yes, I did watch that a little bit. It wasn't on for very long. It doesn't look so it was 91 to 93. And so they would replay that on Nickelodeon, I think just as
Hmm.
fillers sometimes because I obviously 91 and 93 my memory is minimalistic on that because I was 0 to 2. They just don't make them like they used to.
Hmm.
Like, they really
Yeah,
don't.
a crazy ride the whole time through some of those shows at the end. You're just like, wait, what's happening? But it's kind of fun. It really does make it more fun and like everyone sort of with the contestants and the hosts and the audience and just everything sort of makes it a really really fun experience to watch.
Yeah. Like I said, I do miss those, and it would be interesting to see revivals at how they would do and be more focused on kids. Like, I'd probably even still watch it
Yeah.
just to kind of compare.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would be nice to see kids active and using their brains for something other than looking at a phone. And, I think these types of shows would be good for them to sort of give them a mixture of both. And it does suck that, the Nickelodeon studio closed down and those future generations didn't get a chance to really experience what we were able to. That's kind of the direction I think that they started going, was they wanted to start doing more animated, more sitcoms, more of those scripted type shows, and they were getting away from these game shows. I'm not really sure what changed, but why all of a sudden they weren't good enough for people to keep watching.
I wonder if maybe it was like some legislatures or something, because I know part of the reason why so many of those early 90s, even into the early 2000s shows, both game shows and like scripted shows, were filmed in Florida, was because of Florida had a very lax child labor laws. That's why they had pretty much their home base for like the Mickey Mouse Club, a lot of those Nickelodeon shows, all that. Everything was out of Florida, out of Orlando, because of those lax child labor laws. So I wonder if maybe, because it's kind of ended in, like you said, 2005, a little bit later. So I wonder if there was a big switch in legislature for that. And so then they were like, okay, well, we're, along with maybe stricter child labor laws, maybe it was also looking at like the liability for doing game shows, like we were talking about earlier. It was just getting too much to handle for children, for kids, preteens, teens. Maybe it was too expensive to insure everybody.
Wouldn't surprise me if that was the reasoning behind it, Like, all the good stuff gets taken away eventually, you know what I mean? Like, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Now we got the Blue Man Group.
Which is not dogging on the Blue Man Group. They're pretty entertaining.
No, I have seen them and they're cool.
I've not seen them. I did want to, but just timing never worked. I saw them. They actually were ones that had been on Slime Time Live.
Oh, okay.
That was one of they had been a guest on there and different things, but yeah, the Universal Studios especially is just not like it used to be back in the 90s. We could do a whole 3-part episode on that.
Oh yeah. Let's not start talking about Universal and all the changes and taking away all those good rides. No, that's a whole topic.
We might need a few drinks before we get into that.
Ooh, yes.
That's all I've got on the game shows. What about you?
That's all I got. What's the how does the Guts theme song go again? You gotta have guts.
From Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida.
No, I don't have it. I don't have guts. Oh my god.
And we don't have those studios anymore.
I know. Oh man. Well, hey, this was fun though, going back and rewatching all of these.
For sure. Absolutely. I definitely enjoyed this walk down memory lane. It reminded me of a lot of after school times.
Yeah, seriously. I think Nickelodeon ate up most of my afternoons for sure with all the stuff they put out.
Absolutely. Because Disney was still Disney Junior by the time I got home from school. I was like, I ain't watching no Disney Junior. Give me Nickelodeon.
Oh, Disney. Yeah, I don't think they succeeded in that.
No. Nope.
Okay, but we just gotta wait until what is it, 1942 for the Nickelodeon time vault thing?
What was it, 50 years or something supposed to be?
Mm.
I don't remember either. but we shall see.
Nick.
Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon. That'll be our intro. I mean, that'll be our outro.
Be sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and we will be back next week with another episode back into 1991 of 90s Noise.
Bye.